Hello to all of you. This is really, really exciting. I'm really, really happy to see so many of you. So we all gathered here to talk and learn about klezmer music. So I'll begin with something important and basic that not everybody knows. Klezmer is not originally is not a type of music. It's a profession. Okay? The Jewish musicians who played all over Eastern Europe, mainly in the 19th century, were the klezmers, klezmorim. And they played everything. Everything. They played everything they had to play, meaning they would go from town to town all over Eastern Europe, which at that time was quite a vast part of territory, and played anything they were asked to play. And that meant, obviously, Jewish music, but not necessarily religious music, not necessarily Hasidic music, but everything that was there to dance to, and they had to play the music of what they call the goyim, their neighbors, the non-Jewish. They had to play everything from waltzes to tangos to everything that was popular at the time. They could play anything. They played everything, and they learned a lot of their repertoire from their travels, because at the time, to get from Odessa to Bucharest, it took a while. They didn't take a plane. They didn't even take a train. They were traveling with, I don't know, horses, or I don't know how they did actually. So they had to camp somewhere on the way, and they met their colleagues, the gypsy musicians, who did exactly the same kind of work, and they played for each other. They just jammed together and learned each other's repertoire. And so the Jews then came to their destination, to a Jewish wedding in Bucharest, and said, "Hey, check this out. We just learned this really cool Ukrainian tune. How about we dance to it?" And they played it, and it became a part of their repertoire. So the klezmer's repertoire was all the music and dances that were popular in Eastern Europe at the time. So it was Romanian music, Hungarian music, Moldavian music, which was a part of Romania, Russian, Poland, Greek music, and Turkish music. That was their territory. It's really a huge, a vast territory, and therefore a really big variety of repertoire. So what made their music, if it was so international, what made it sound so special? What made it sound Jewish? Okay, and that was two things. One, their accent. Okay, their language was Yiddish, and whatever they sang in an Yiddish accent, in the way they sang in the synagogue. And that's how they played their music. What makes a klezmer musician be a klezmer musician is that whatever he does, his aim, his goal, is to touch your feelings, is to make you feel emotional, not necessarily to go out and dance immediately, but to be moved by the way he's playing, doesn't matter what. And that's very special. And I completely sympathize with that, because that's when I play klezmer music, I feel that that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not doing it as a strategy. I'm not doing it purposely. That's the way I find myself play this music. It is touching music. And so what's going to make it touching? What's going to make it have the right accent? The ornaments, the way we speak the language. And any kind of music is a language. Jazz is a language. Turkish music is a language. Greek music is a language. Klezmer music is a language. And one has to learn the language to learn to pronounce the words correctly, to sound correctly. So how are we going to do that? How do you go about learning a language? It's not an easy task. And it has to do mostly with your ears. Okay? Klezmer music and basically every kind of folk music is not meant to be learned from a written text. Nobody learned this music from a written page, because music on a page is caged music. It's music that is in a prison. It's in a prison of meter and bars and rhythm. If something is written in straight eighth notes, you play it forever in straight eighth notes, the music will be in prison forever and ever. Whereas the folk musician, and I would dare say that even to some extent, a classical musician who plays a written text, always plays differently, never plays twice the same way. There is interpretation in it. So in classical music, it's a lot more rigid. In folk music, it's as free improvisation. Therefore, one has to ideally learn the music by ear. Now, I know a lot of you here are amateurs and are not used to it, but there are ways to become better and better at it. The other thing is, if we're talking about the ear, is to learn those ornaments. So what we're going to do here today is work with this very cool tune by Dave Tarras. Dave Tarras was one of the most important klezmer clarinetists in the history. And obviously I sent you the music because we don't have time to copy and learn it by ear right now. And we will learn a few ornaments. There are many ways to ornament. We will learn just a few of them to make it sound immediately klezmer. And why do I do this? Because it's just giving you tools. I'm giving you tools to work with. But what you should be doing, if you're interested in it, is go ahead later and listen to as many klezmer recordings as you can. And pick a song that you like. Even this song, now you will have the charts, you'll have the code, and listen to Tarras's recording or any other recording and copy the way they play. Because when a child learns to speak, he doesn't know how to read. And he doesn't know grammar, doesn't know anything. He just copies. He imitates bits of words, and then he puts them together to sentences, and all of a sudden he can speak. A child can speak way before he can read, and definitely way before he can study grammar. And any kind of music, especially folk music, is the same. So I'm going to give you some tools, and we're going to work together. and if you like it, you should go ahead and listen to recordings. The more you listen, the more it will get into your ears, the better you'll be able to play it. So, Dave Tarras was from Ukraine, immigrated to the United States, to New York, and became a superstar klezmer. And this is the tune. And there are many, 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 many recordings of his, and you can find a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them on YouTube. By the way, on YouTube, you should look for a YouTube channel that's called Classic Klezmer. Classic Klezmer. That's, as far as I'm concerned, the only place where you should learn from listening. Why? Because what's on this channel is all the recordings of all the klezmer players who immigrated from Eastern Europe to New York and recorded themselves. They actually released albums. They were very popular. And these are phenomenal albums, great music, low quality, that you hit the play and the first thing you hear is, but then comes the music, and the way these guys play is the way you should copy. Because there are many other wonderful klezmer players to this day, but I believe that you should learn from the source. Just like if I want to learn bebop, then I would go to Charlie Parker directly because he has invented this language, and I would go to, if I have access to the root of it, to the source of it, I go there, and not to second, third, fourth, 10th hand. So you want to learn, go to the source. The source is on that channel. Good. Okay, so let's take this tune. I'll put up the music so we can all see it. It's the version in B flat. Okay, so here is a very straightforward rendition of the first phrase, the way it's written, the way you see it in front of you, okay? Okay, good. So that was clean, no ornaments, no nothing. But still, my attempt was not to deliberately play boring, but to express myself. Now, most of you are familiar with the Yiddish culture. And the Yiddish culture is a beautiful culture. But one of its characteristics is to complain. It's a joke, but one of the main characteristics is to say oy vey, oy vey. And actually, I mean, I'm saying it with humor, but when you listen to the way they pray also, you hear a lot of breaks in their voice. Yada da da yada da da yada. So we're trying to imitate that in our playing. And actually, the simplest way to do it is with an ornament that all of you are familiar with from the classical world, and that's the grace note. The simple grace note. That's called in German Vorschlag, in Hebrew, בעברית אין לזה שום שם, קישוט. And that grace note is actually a note. That when we see it written out, these are the small notes. In Baroque music, in classical music, we see small notes. There are small notes that are written just before the main big note. Okay, so I see some of you with instruments. I recommend all of you to take your instruments and try to repeat after me. I'm playing the tune and I'm adding, I play just the first bar, the first two bars. I'm adding small notes in some of the notes. Listen. You got it? So it's actually before the second note. הקישוטים הם תמיד עם לשון. תראו, something important about that. Okay, it's just a grace note. But in order for it to be really an ornament in the style, it needs to be oy vey. And if you sing it, if you actually sing it with your voice, you would go tia da 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 tia tia. It's got the tongue before everything else. Tia da da tia da 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 tia da da. That's how we sing. בדיוק. Whoever that was. Okay? So, the other thing I'm saying, if you can't sing it, you can't play it. מה שאתם צריכים זה קודם כל להצליח לשיר. You have to be able to sing it, and then you'll know exactly how you'd like to play it. Okay, so if I go tia da 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 tia da da, then I go. You see? So the question is, do I ornament the same ornament on the 6th, 8th notes of the bar? The first answer is no. Why? Because I have no idea eventually where I'm going to ornament. I'm just giving you small examples. So, and I will also show you later when we'll talk about improvisation a little bit, or the mode. You understand exactly where are good places to ornament. There are good places and other good places. It's always good. If you feel something, if you feel like ornamenting, then you should ornament. Notice that I'm not just putting a grace note. Okay? I'm not just doing. Okay? This is just putting a grace note. I am expressing this grace note. I make the note painful. I make the note sing. Okay? The next type of ornament is exactly the same, but it's farther away from the note. That ornament that we just did was a step above, okay? The next one is above, far above, okay? And I call it, it's my definition, I call it the Yoddle ornament. Why Yoddle? Because I go from above, here, I break my voice. So, okay, so. just like you would do with your voice. Hiya, hiya, dam. So it doesn't matter what note you're starting with, as long as it's far above. And each one of you has to find it on his instrument. So let's try again. I'll do it on the very first note of the tune. Okay? The very first note of the tune is this one. And instead of doing the small one, I'll go from further up. Okay, so this time I started from B, high B, but it can be high C, it can be A, anything that's not the closest neighbor. And it should sound like the breaking of your voice. Tia da 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 da, tia da da, tia da, da da da. So you have to find the octave in which it's working for you. Now we have two ways to ornament. It's actually enough, but the other ornament that you can use, which you are familiar with from other kinds of music, is the trill. Okay, so you can trill. Usually we will trill on longer notes, but not always. I gave you 3 or 2.5 ways to ornament. They're very simple, and yet, in order to apply them, you have to practice 1 bar at a time. 1 bar at a time. Each bar, get the most of what you can. For example, the first bar, I practice both ways. The first way, until I get it under my fingers, until I feel good with it, until I get it synchronized with my tongue and my fingers. And then I either go to the next bar and try to put ornaments there, or I try on the first bar to do the second way of ornaments, which is the grace note from above. Okay? I have ways in which one can practice ornaments throughout the mode. So, in order to do that, it's time to talk about the mode. Okay? The mode, המילה modus, mode, is a scale, סולם. And every kind of music, let's say tonal music, is written within a modal frame, major or minor, okay, either major or minor. And within that, there are variations. And then, so we have, according to the melody, this bar shows us the entire scale. Okay? How about you try and play that scale? Okay, so you noticed hopefully that it's a major mode because the interval between the first note and the third note is a major third. So we have. So it's major. but it's got something weird right from the beginning. The second note is flat. The second note is closer to the first note than in the usual major scale. Normal major is this major. It's very special, it's very nice. And so the name of it in the Klezmer language is Ahava Rabba. Ahava Rabba. And in another way to talk about it, we call it Phrygish. Phrygish. It's like a modus, it's like the Greek mode Phrygian, but it's not exactly Phrygian, so we call it Phrygish. So what am I going to do with this? Two things. One, if I know the scale, I'm going to practice ornaments on the scale. אז אני לוקח את הסולם ואני מתאמן על שני צלילים ממנו. שני הצלילים הראשונים ואני אשים קישוט. ואז אני אלך לשני הצלילים הבאים, the next two notes. And I go. ואז אני אלך הלאה. I'm going all the way through the scale in couples, and I practice ornamenting the second note. Okay, ya tiada tiada, la tiada tiada. למה זה חשוב? כי בכל מקום בכלי שלנו זה מרגיש אחרת, צריך למצוא את זה בכל מקום. You have to find it in every place on your instrument. So you have to practice it all through the scale, all through the registers. When you do it enough, you get comfortable everywhere, and you can then use it in your song. Okay? So this is yet another thing to practice. It's better to practice this before you go and practice the song. ואז נהיה לי נוח לקשט. יש לי את זה בכל מקום עכשיו, כי התאמנתי על זה בסולם. זה לא מעט חומר להתאמן עליו, אבל אני רוצה להראות לכם עוד דבר אחד. שמכניס לנו לאוזן את הכוח שיש לכל תו בסולם. וזה חשוב. לא כל התווים, בכל סולם, לא כל התווים בסולם יש להם את אותו כוח. ולמה אני מתכוון? לסולם יש מערכת יחסים, היררכיה. ואנחנו לומדים לשמוע את ההיררכיה הזאת כשאנחנו מנגנים כל תו בסולם כנגד התו הראשון. ואז נוצרים מתחים. המוזיקה בכלל בחיים מתקדמת בזמן על ידי יצירה של מתח והפתרון של המתח. אנחנו חייבים ליצור איזשהו דיסוננס ולפתור אותו. אז אני הולך לשים לי ברקע צליל אחד ארוך ומתמשך, את הצליל מי של הקלרינט, אוקיי? ועליו אני הולך לנגן לאט לאט את כל אחד מצלילי הסולם. ואני אשאר על זה הרבה זמן. אני רוצה לשמוע האם יש מתח ולאן אני פותר אותו. אוקיי? אוקיי. אני מנגן איתו. מאחר וזה אותו תו, אין הרבה מתח, נכון? No tension, no dissonance. שימו לב, תו מספר 2. התו השני יוצר המון מתח. זה התו שאני אוהב. אני רוצה את המתח. על המתח אני אעשה קישוט. בואו נבדוק את התו השלישי. נשמע יפה, לא נשמע עם הרבה מתח. בואו נבדוק מה קורה עם התו הרביעי. מבחינתי התו הרביעי יוצר חיכוך, friction, that wants to resolve down the third note. התו הרביעי יוצר לי מתח. אז בואו תראו רגע, רק עם 4 צלילים, מה אני יכול לעשות? קודם כל אני אקשט את הצלילים עם המתח. I will ornament those notes that have more tension. And I will create a story. אז זה כבר ממש לאלתר. באמצעים מאוד מאוד פשוטים, שימו לב. נורא פשוט, אני עובד עם מתח לפתרון שלו. באותו אופן, same way I can check out the fifth note. התו החמישי הוא תו מאוד מאוד סטטי. It doesn't have any tension. It's a point of release. It's a point of rest, not release. But if I go to the note above it, the 6th note, בסך הכל, I just played the scale down, but I stayed longer on those notes that create a lot of tension. And the tension is created because I have this D all the time, and this is a wonderful way to improvise, because what I just played, I just improvised it. But notice that I didn't just run all over. I didn't do. That's not. There's a way to do it also, but I was staying long on the notes to enjoy the tension, to squeeze the tension. Okay, so now I'll stop the share. And we'll go back to the music, to our tune, and notice where I'm ornamenting. כל הקישוטים שעשינו מקודם יושבים בדיוק על הצלילים שיוצרים מתח. All those ornaments sit on the notes that create tension. So, the reasons why it's important to practice the mode, the scale, many reasons. First, be able to ornament wherever you want. Second, identify the notes that create tension. These are the expressive notes. Okay? These are the expressive notes. That's what we want to ornament most of the time. And the third reason is that, and this is for a much later, for more advanced playing, ornamenting is also changing a little bit the melody here and there, getting to a note from a different way than it's on the page that you have. In order to do that, you need to know what are the notes that you can use. So learning the modes is a really important thing. So the first thing you have to do to get into this world of music is to listen. Okay, we're all listening to music all the time. We have music in our cars, we have music on our phones, we take trains, we take airplanes, we take buses, we always on the go. Okay, so listening. Basically, when you listen enough, you'll be able to copy. It will get into your system. That's the most important thing. And listen to good recordings. Okay, recordings of the good players. And then practice. Okay, so in my WhatsApp group, I'm gonna put out every week something, either a little exercise or a tune to listen to, or some tip about ornamenting, what to do, what not to do, a lot of information. Thank you very much for being here with me.